What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with the college football week 3 preview and picks. As always, I'll be breaking down this week's biggest games. Normally, I have Ty with me, but he can't make the video with me due to homework. But before I jump into it, hit that subscribe button down below to be entered in our giveaway at 500 subscribers. First, we're going to look at last week's results. And somehow, some way, I was perfect last week, going 13-0, while Ty went 9-4. And I don't know how it happens, but somehow, some way, I have one really good week, and I think that's going to be it. I'm gonna have to repeat it this week and try, but I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll see. And we'll start it off with Louisville at Indiana, and we're both going with the Cardinals here. They've got off to a good start, 2-0, and if they can get a road win against the Big Ten team, go to 3-0, you might be looking at a ranked Cardinals team. Just from how improved they are from last year to this year is a big step forward in the program, and I expect the Cardinals to go out there and get a dub. Penn State, Illinois. Penn State should run away with this one in the second half. Drew Aller will be too much for the Fighting Illini. And Drew Aller and the Nittany Lions are looking forward to possibly proving some people wrong this year in the Big Ten. No, they are the third team that everyone is talking about in the Big Ten. It goes Michigan, Ohio State, then them. And if Penn State can pull off an upset against one of those two teams, possibly squeak into a Big Ten championship, this team can make some noise in the college football playoff. Both of us are going with LSU here on the road, and this is a tricky game for the Tigers. Jalen Daniels has to have a good game, or else, simply put, they won't win this game at Mississippi State. Mississippi State has been a tough team in SEC play against these higher up teams, the elite class of LSU, Georgia, and Bama. And Mississippi State's cracking the code with those teams. They play close every year, can't pull out a win, but maybe this is the year where they change the tide and can get a big win. Kansas State goes on the road to face Missouri in the rivalry. Kansas State, I think they're going to overpower Missouri, and Ty's going with the same way. 3.5, I would take that spread. And I will give them credit, though. Missouri has looked good this year in their two games, but unfortunately, this is where they fall and get their first loss while Kansas State moves up. Then moving to 3:30, you have South Carolina going on the road to face Georgia. And at the beginning of the year, I think you could have said that these teams both would have been ranked coming into this matchup, but South Carolina obviously lost to North Carolina, then won last week to get back to 1-1, and 27-point home dogs. It's tough for me to not take Georgia money line, obviously, straight up. But the points will be interesting because I think Spencer Rattler will have a decent day and put up some points. But will it be enough with that 27 for Georgia to cover the spread is the biggest question mark. So I think I'm personally going to stay away from the spread and points in this one. But we're doing straight picks here, so I got to go with Georgia. And then a very, very good game on here at 3:30 that's probably flying under the radar. Minnesota and UNC. And whoever wins this game will probably earn that top 25 ranking next week. And if Minnesota can go on the road and get this win, that is a huge win for the program. Going to 3-0, heading into Big Ten play, getting a ranked win on the road. I don't think they're going to do it, but they really should have lost to Nebraska week 1 or week 0, and they really didn't get that done. Nebraska, they kind of handed Minnesota the game, so they got gifted a win there. So I think on paper, I got to go with UNC -7. Drake May and company is just going to be too much. Moving to 5 o'clock on Peacock, Washington goes on the road to face Michigan State. And I think Washington is going to beat the brakes off Michigan State. Michael Penix Jr. and company are just going to be too much for the Spartans to handle. Their secondary is weak for the last few years under Mel Tucker. And stopping Michael Penix Jr. is going to be a tough task, so give me Washington. And this is where Ty and I disagree for the first time this week. I'm going with Tennessee on the road, 5.5 points. I think that's way too less. It was at 7 originally this week. Bumped it down to 5.5, and I'm taking Tennessee points all the way. Florida's best just won't be able to hang with Tennessee if Joe Milton can come out and play. We've seen Florida this year struggle already, and I think Tennessee wins this by 2 scores. So I'm going with them, but maybe Ty's going the other way because it is the Swamp. It is a tough place to play. Maybe he doesn't think Tennessee is legit this year, so we'll see how that turns out. Then at 7:30, Pitt and West Virginia. And I think if West Virginia would have got some more respect, get a closer loss to Penn State in week 1, maybe game days there for this rivalry, or they're broadcasting it more, but it is on ABC. So this is a big game for both of these programs. Non-conference schedule, obviously. And Pitt really needs this win to get to 2-1 heading into ACC play. West Virginia, same thing, getting the Big 12 play. So this is a big game early in the season for both these teams. But Ty and I are both going with the underdog on the road. Pitt, it's just, to me, they've proven more in the past few years that they can play in these bigger games and show up. At 7:30 on ESPN2, BYU and Arkansas, another good game at night. And I'm going with the Razorbacks here. I think SEC is going to really take it to BYU and company. Arkansas, KJ Jefferson, they have looked good in their two games. I expect them to get to 3-0 and possibly have a ranking next week if they can get this win here. 2-0 team versus 2-0 team. It is a big game early in the year, even though there's only been 2 weeks. But they can go into SEC play 3-0 in their non-conference. Arkansas is going to be looking pretty good. Then our Wolverines should take care of business here. Not much to say. Going against Bowling Green, who's 1-0, but 40.5 point for the spread. Michigan, I don't think they're going to cover, but they're going to put up at least 40 on them. And JJ McCarthy's looks great. Corum and Edwards are starting to get their footing back. Roman Wilson's the number one. And the defense has only given up 10 points in the last 2 games. So everything's gone right for Michigan so far, as I expect it to go right again this week. And then the last game on the docket, TCU and Houston. And this is year 1 of the Big 12 rivalry, the new rivalry that is starting this year. And because it's going to become a rivalry, I'm going with the home team in Houston. It's a big game for both of these teams. TCU obviously struggled out of the gate, losing to Colorado at home, lost their footing for a little bit, rebounded last week. And if they can come back and get a win here, I think they're going to be right back in business. But if Houston can pull out the win here, that's going to be a big step forward for them, not only just for this year, but in the Big 12 as well, that they can win big games. So I don't want to go down the road and say this is a game you should have had, but it kind of feels that way at the end of the year when you're going to look back at the season and say, whoever wins this game, I think their season trajectory is going up or down. But that's going to be it for this week's video. Make sure you guys come back next week to see how we did in our picks, and join Ty and I next week to break down the best games for next week. But until the next time, Bench Buddies are out.